huge corporations have spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get to the point where it is. I mean, this is like a lifetime trophy for some of these real estate developers, and to just see these profits and these numbers dwindle away is not something that these developers are going to go quietly into the night. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about converting empty office space into residential housing. Is that a solution for long-term affordability and just getting more supply into these dense cities that have empty office buildings everywhere? We're going to be talking about a Reddit thread, which is actually all too common right now. It is a seller that has a great property that's on the market, and they're just not getting showings, and they've priced it accordingly, allegedly. So we'll get into that, and then we'll also get into in or out, 3 hot topics in the real estate world, and whether Shawn Battle is in or out on those topics. Shawn, let us start with housing conversions. Will be a fix for empty offices, but not yet. There's an article circulating right now, and it has to do with New York housing office space, or lack thereof. A lot of vacant office space in New York and a lot of vacant office space in the United States. Occupancy in the top U.S. markets is almost half of pre-pandemic levels, and in Europe, it is around 43%, according to reports. So there's a lot of empty office space. Another article from Observer came out that said remote work could knock 39%, which equates to $50 billion from the value of New York City offices. And Facebook just announced that they have terminated a lease in Midtown South where they were renting out 200,000 square feet of commercial real estate space. So, Shawn, I guess a couple questions I'll throw out at you. One, do you see commercial spaces being converted into residential spaces? 2, is this kind of where we're at with remote work? And then 3, do you kind of see the offices having life in a post-pandemic world?
Oh man, well, is it happening? Yes, it's starting to happen. Not on a huge scale, but I've read some articles where they are transitioning the office space into residential. And I guess it really depends on the building, right? If you think about these huge buildings in New York City that are office spaces, how in the heck do you transfer that into a residential space? That's a huge project to take over. And
well, all of the space in the middle, you don't have like an exterior window. So is that going to be common space? Like you can't just rent that out and as like an apartment.
Right. And that's what they were saying is like on a commercial side, you're paying for a price per square foot based on that whole thing. Right. But on residential, you're not paying for common areas. Right. You're not going to ask the buyers to pay for common areas, and those common areas are going to take up a lot of space. So basically what they're saying is they need values to drop a lot more before it makes it the right move for these commercial properties. So the question is, are we going to see a drop in these values? Now, if we're already seeing a 39% decrease in office use, and we've seen it for 2 years, and we know that not everybody's going back to work, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are working from home. They're finding that luxury. But we just talked to somebody yesterday that finally went back to work in the office. He's like, man, it's great. Everybody's like, back to work. They're feeling good about it. So there's something to be said about working in an office, right?
Did he really want to be back at work?
Probably not. But like, hey, you got to look at the positive side. So if you got to be there.
He was very convincing.
He was very convincing. But the thing is, there is something about being together, right? Like being with the people that you're working with and accomplishing a common goal. That is something that it breeds productivity, right? If you're sitting at home, you've got a screaming kid in the background or whatever, and you're trying to get work done, you're not as productive. Plus, you're working longer hours, I think, right? So your commute hours, you're probably jumping on, jumping off, jumping on, jumping off. I've done it for 20 years. I've worked from home for 20 years, going to the office here and there. So I know the luxuries and the downsides of it. people that are used to, so there's two different types of people, right? There's some people that thrive in an office space, and then there's some people that thrive at home, right? So we're seeing this whole shift that we were not ready for. The pandemic changed everything. And to not have the people going back to work is tough. And so if you think about these big office buildings, they're going to have vacancies in some areas and vacancies not in other areas. And some of those leases could be for 10 years. Some could be ending tomorrow, right? So how do you get a whole building vacant at the same time? You've got to wait. And what happens then? Your costs are going up and up and up. And so are the cost to renovate it, right? So to renovate it. So I think those prices have to come down significantly for that to start happening. And here's the second thing. As the prices drop in the commercial space, what we're seeing is, it's all fine and good when the demand and everything was going up in the residential space. But all of a sudden we see a rise in interest rates. And these interest rates are putting up they're stopping a lot of the buyers from entering the market because the costs have gone up so much. So we're no longer needing the supply because the buyers have pulled back. So if you're going to convert a building, which will take a year to convert, at least 2 years, whatever it is, you got to make sure that market's going to be there for you whenever you're done converting. And right now we're in such a wishy-washy time of real estate. Honestly, we have never seen a rise of interest rates so quickly. And that has had a profound impact on the real estate market as a whole. So I don't know that the conversion is the answer. I think it's an answer in some instances, but I think there's going to be a lot of hurt going on in these commercial spaces because they're not going to be able to lease them out, and to convert them is going to be expensive. And so how are they going to attract people and offices to come back in?
Yeah, well, here in Arlington, we have Amazon HQ2, and they have said that they're not slowing down. I think they have like 4 billion square feet of commercial real estate space. So they have like many different buildings, like many different high rises. They're not slowing down. But also in Amazon HQ2 in Crystal City in National Landing was the WeLive, which was a spinoff of WeWork. And what they did was they converted commercial office space into residential, communal living, essentially, where you have a private room and then like a shared amenity, which I honestly thought was like a great idea, because if you go to Japan, they have like, the pod hotels and kind of like shared spaces, and everyone's like respectful and whatnot. But it's permanently closed. Like it's not operable anymore. And, maybe that has something to do with like WeWork and that corporate structure. But, if WeLive can't, work as a shared kind of, office to residential, I'm trying to figure out what sort of, the first thing that comes to mind is affordable housing, right? It's like we have like a terrible affordability problem here in Arlington and in many cities. I mean, like you look around at like San Francisco, Seattle, San Diego, like literally any big city, affordability is, if not number one, like number 1A of issues in big cities. So I'm thinking that is probably going to be like very high on people's maybe wish lists of what's a possible solution with an empty building in a great location. Why not put affordable housing? But at that point, who's going to buy it, right? You're going to have, like literally the city come and buy it. You're going to have like a jurisdiction come and buy it. Because remember, these are Class A properties with tons and tons of square footage that huge corporations have spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get to the point where it is. I mean, this is like a lifetime trophy for some of these real estate developers, and to just see these profits and these numbers dwindle away is not something that these developers are going to go quietly into the night.
No, and then and the other thing to think about is if they're taking these properties and they're actually going to convert them, and they're converting them into residential properties, what is the demand to live there? Why are people living in New York City, right? They're living there because their work is probably there, and they want a convenience of walking over to work and then walking home, right? So are they going to pay these prices if they no longer have to stay in New York City for their work, right? So their job is leaving. They no longer have to go to work. Are they going to end up buying in one of these buildings? Probably not. We've already seen the exodus, right?
I think people like New York.
I do. And so like there's two different buyers, right? There's the buyers that are going to buy there because because it's convenient to their work. And there's the buyers that are going to buy there because they love New York City and they love the feel and they want to be there, right? There's so many conveniences there, and it's a great city. But, you know, will the prices sustain for these commercial properties to convert when maybe the demand pulls back because the work isn't there, right? The work is no longer there. So these people are living in the Poconos sitting on their couch, right? And that's what we've seen in so many different jurisdictions. We've seen the exodus of outlying areas because they no longer have to go to work. So if that continues, it's going to be trouble for these commercial buildings. I don't know what they're going to do because there are so many to fill. And we've seen the construction in Arlington. We've seen it everywhere for years. But the pandemic really put us sideways in a lot of different ways that we never expected. And how do we fill those voids? I don't know. You know, and how long are they going to last? We don't know. And, you know, the problem is we're kind of in this perfect storm where, all right, people aren't going to work anymore. Interest rates are rising. Demand is falling. We got to get a hold of inflation. And it's this big circle, this cloud of like, what are we going to do? Where's it going to give, right? And thankfully today the stock market's up. I don't know why, but the stock market's up. So hopefully there's positives to come. I just, you know, the conversion to residential was a cool idea. I think it's a really neat idea, and there's plenty of buildings that could be done. Whether it makes financial, sense is the question.
The converting is one thing. You know, the demolishing is another thing. Here in Roslyn, there's a building almost just outside the window that is a commercial building that they're thinking about demolishing and then turning into apartments. And now they're like, all right, should we do apartments and condos? Should we just do condos on the top, apartments on the bottom? Should we do apartments in the middle and then office space and then condos? Like, they don't know what to do. So that has to do with like demolishing the building and bringing it back up. But as for converting a building, that is very tricky.
Yeah, and there's so many different classes or building structures, right? There's old building structures that are being used. Those could be kind of cool. But then there's the new high-rises that are all glass. That would be, in my eyes, a tougher, more expensive renovation than kind of the older one. For some reason, you know, the smaller buildings will be easier, right? These big daddies, that's what's going to be difficult, and I don't think it's feasible, to be honest.
Got to watch out for the big daddy buildings.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. This comes to us from Reddit. Little OC. Shawn, what is OC on Reddit?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Original content.
Ooh,
from user Zutia. California, selling, 0 interest and no showings. Essentially, that's the headline. You know what the gist is. This individual is selling a townhouse condo in Orange. You know what? I think OC will also mean California, Orange County. But
original content. Hey, I like it.
I think OP means original post. I think that's where I was getting the O from. So, okay. OC California, Orange County, California.
Okay.
It's also original content, so we're going with it. Lots of abbreviations here. So essentially, the realtor priced it after doing market research, looking at similar listings, yada yada yada. Seller agreed and said yes, this is a good price. They haven't had any showings. It's been on the market for a little over 2 weeks. 0 interest, 0 calls. There is a huge lack of interest. The poster goes on to say that the realtor is also confused as to why they've had 0 interest, not even a single call. And the questions that they've asked the Reddit audience, is the market just that bad, or is there something that we're doing wrong? Should we do an open house? Should we lower the price and undercut some other condos in the area? Does our realtor suck? Should we actively try to promote our house? The realtor seemed super passive, only waiting for buyers to approach first. So Shawn, if someone came to you with these questions, how are you responding?
Okay, number one, we're in a changing market. The market is changing quickly and quicker than we anticipated. That is all due to higher interest rates. You have to look at buyer feasibility. I was doing numbers this morning, and do you want me to go into those numbers? I mean, think about this. Okay. In January of this year, you could get a $500,000 loan, conventional financing, over 30 years for 3.35%, right? If you did a $500,000 loan, that was $2,204 a month. Now, fast forward to October, you're now looking at 6.8%. 6.8%. That's double, more than double what your interest rate was. So what does that do to your payment? You're now at $3,259. It was $1,055 difference in your monthly payment. So look at what that does in your actual ability to purchase. And so if you were pre-approved at $500,000 in January and you're still looking now, your pre-approval is worth about $340,000, you know? Or if you're pre-approved right now for $500,000, you could have bought a $740,000 loan in the beginning of the year. That's what the difference is. And that's what people have to be starting to think about is a buyer's eyes. They're looking at your listing and they're saying, well, 2 months ago, I could have got it a lot cheaper on a monthly payment basis. So seller, what are you going to do to attract the buyer? Do you want to be behind the wave or on the wave, pushing that current forward? You need to be in front of it because we don't know what's happening in this market. We're kind of in one of these things that like happens every never, right? Like I've never seen an interest rate rise. I've been doing this 20 years. I've never seen interest rates rise that quickly. I've seen a market stop like this one time, and that was in 2008. And I'm not saying it stopped. It has slowed down significantly. We're still seeing contracts come in, but there is this fear in the market that I haven't seen in a long time. And so how do you combat that? Number one, there was actually a post on here that said, price isn't always the problem, but it's always the solution, right? So if you think that you're overpriced, you probably are. And to get in front of that, you probably have to reduce that price pretty significantly to get in front of it. And that's kind of where we are. You have to say, all right, what kind of equity do I still have built up in here? Is it worth me to say, all right, you know what? It's not worth this anymore. Let's just drop it. Let's get out so that I can get out, get my money, go rent for 6 months, figure things out, and move to where I want to go. It's always about steps in life, right? And what gets you to that step. If you still want to be here in 6 months, 8 months, 2 years down the road, then okay, make the choices to be conservative about it. But if you want to get out and you want to move, then be aggressive and say, hey, I'm going to drop the price here and hopefully people come. There's always ramifications to that. You might not get anything. You might have to pull it off the market and say, forget it. But you brought up a good example the other day where there was a house on the market. I think it was you or Miguel, and there were multiple offers on it because they priced it low, right? There was a strategy there. They're pricing it low to get it gone. And that's not always going to work, especially in a market where people are tentative, but it works, right? The other thing that this person was talking about is like the real estate agent, there's no showings, but the real estate agent's not doing any open houses. I'm the type of person that's like, listen, I need action. I need something. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the action. And so I'm going to stand in an open house whenever I have to, however many hours I have to get some action to find out what is wrong. You're not going to find out what's wrong with the house unless you get some feedback from people that are looking at it, right? How else can you do that? By standing in it and having people walk through it and saying, oh, this place is ugly. The carpets suck. It needs repainted. It's dark. It's too high priced. There's so many things wrong with this place, right? That's what you need. If your realtor's not going to be honest with you, then you need to get honesty from somebody else, and those buyers will come and rip you apart, right? So you have to be getting in there and doing whatever you can as a real estate agent to get the feedback, to get the people in there so that you know where to turn.
No real benefit of not doing an open house.
None.
One of the commenters challenged the poster and said, so you're priced as the same as other condos that are also just sitting on the market, or are you priced the same as other condos that sold when interest rates were lower? It takes 3 to 4 weeks to close, so any home popping up as sold today likely had an offer accepted under lower rate conditions when debt was more affordable. 2 weeks without a nibble means you're not priced appropriately. Pointing to other listings that may also not be priced appropriately is not evidence that your condo is correctly priced. So maybe the price was correct when rates were 3%, but rates are no longer 3%.
100% correct. you know, there's a lot of sellers that will go and, you know, we'll do the appointment and they'll look at places on the market currently. And they're like, well, this one's priced here and this one's priced here. I want to price there. But look, they're still on the market. How long have they been? They've been on for 40 days. They're not moving. Why are we going to price there? You really want to look at your comps, and you don't want to look at 3-month-old comps at this point because they're way too old. Your interest rates have popped 2% since then. So what does that do to affordability? I just showed you, right?
So how do you come up with comps now? How do you come up with that sales
You're going to
price?
have to do a sliding scale, basically. So, all right, this sold a month ago. What was the interest rate? Okay, it was 1% lower. What does that equate to in value? Maybe not take it the whole way, right? Maybe not take it to $50,000, but you have to kind of find a medium there. And you might be lower priced than anything is sold in the last 6 months, but that might be what it takes in this market. We just don't know. So like this user was saying is like, hey, you're looking at comps that were you're priced where it was, but interest rates were a lot lower. How are you going to get these buyers that are now paying this much more per month into the door? You have to lower the price. It's just what it is. Now, it's not always going to be that in every market. You know, we can't say this with a blanket. Every market is different, and that's what you have to understand. But as a rule of thumb, you got to start doing the equations on the opposite end, right? For a long time, for 2 years, we were just saying, all right, well, let's price it at the top of the market, and it'll probably keep going up, right? Now you got to be like, all right, maybe we got to price it on the lower side of the market and see if people come. And, you know, unfortunately, the market has changed. You're not going to have the equity that you had a few months ago, unfortunately. But, you know, what I always say is what you don't get on the sell side, you're going to get on the buy side, right? So you sell now, you get it, you take it, and you go beat somebody up on the buy side. That's the way this works.
This is not going to be a unique conversation for this individual seller. We're going to see this conversation pop up over and over and over again. And if you're looking to sell, it unfortunately may be a conversation that you and your real estate agent may have in 2022 or 2023.
I've had conversations with multiple agents calling me for advice and like, hey, what do I do here? What do you think we should do? And my advice is always get in front of the wave. You got to get in front of it because we don't know how big the wave's going to be, right? And so if you're in front of it, you're good. If you're always following it, you're always following it. You're just following it down, 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 right? And take that with a grain of salt. I don't know that it's going down, but it's a weird time in the market. It's definitely weird. We haven't seen something like this in a long time.
All right, let's move on to our third topic. This is in or out. So we're going to touch on 3 trending real estate topics, see if Shawn is in or out on them. Shawn, number 1, apartment therapy says, IKEA, this cozy style will be huge in 2023. That cozy style is you know, I practiced this and I still butchered it.
I hear you, man.
Folklore Fusion. Folklore Fusion, Shawn. Folklore Fusion. What does Folklore Fusion look like? Folklore Fusion is all about infusing colors into spaces while adding touches of unexpected patterns. And you can see all of the fun pictures that I'm scrolling through. Shawn, are you in or out on Folklore Fusion?
I got news for IKEA. You're completely wrong. There's no way.
You don't like this?
No. I mean, no. I mean, certain little aspects of it, yeah, little pieces of it, but couches with prints on it that look like grandma's furniture.
I think this is a poor misrepresentation.
I hope this is a poor representation because that
couch is very loud.
That's very loud and horrible. And like, you know, it's almost like going back to the 1970s. Look at the 1970s, like couch, right, with that crazy print and stuff.
The
on
title of the picture says a hippie rainbow boho apartment in Oakland. I don't necessarily think that this is exactly Folklore Fusion, but you know, just eclectic designs. You know, look, you know, the rugs with the herringbone and the plants.
I could see some of that.
You know, some maybe like a loud accent wall, things like that.
Loud accent wall. I mean, they're showing some patterns that are a little off, in my opinion. You know,
I think that's the point of it.
We went away from this a long time ago, and I don't think there's room to come back. I'm just being honest.
Everything comes back, though.
Everything does. You know. I'm still waiting for the mullet trend. I did see a mullet trend starting to come back. I mean,
well, that's because you were in Pittsburgh.
It
never left.
You are correct, my friend. That's hilarious.
It never left Pittsburgh.
You're right. If I wouldn't have been left Pittsburgh, I would still have a mullet. No.
So I'm in on Folklore Fusion. I think it adds some personality. The article says people have just been confined to these small spaces, so they want to do something to spruce it up. And I think like a little bit of, you walk in to some people's apartments and it's like, that first, it's like the first grade art teacher who has gone completely nuts and everything is everywhere. But
yeah,
I could get down with some folklore.
Yeah, tastefully done, it can be good. But take it over the edge and it's no good. I just don't see it. I mean, I think people are still into their, easy spaces. I mean, hey, do what you want to your place, right? Have fun with it. But on a resale standpoint, I'm going to tell you, no, buddy.
Maybe just keep a little bit of, maybe get rid of the couch, but keep a little bit of personality.
Like the carpets I could deal with, right? The fun little carpets I could deal with here and there. But like, see how those two clash? I mean, that's impossible. It's so impossible. It's like almost like a fun house, right? There's just too many things going on at once, and that's what you got to stay away from.
All right, let's move on to our second topic. This is an Airbnb in New Hampshire. Shawn, I want to set the scene.
Okay.
You and 5 friends, this Airbnb sleeps 6 people. You have just agreed to go on a snowmobiling excursion. Mm-hmm. So you're heading to, you fly in to New Hampshire. Oh, geez, what is that one city in New Hampshire? Not Bedford. You fly into somewhere in New Hampshire, and then you go an hour north to the middle of nowhere. You find yourself in Thornton, New Hampshire, and you park your snowmobiles outside, or you're within like 30 minutes of snowmobiles, and you just need a place to crash. And so here we have the Bunkhouse, which is a 6-bed, 1-bath, let's call it a storage container, because that's what it is. It's a row of bunk beds that is inside of an old storage container. The only window is the door that you see there. That is the only way to tell what sort of natural light there is. You got a few more windows there. You got the bunk bed situation, 1, 2, 3, 4. They say 6. I'm going to say you might have to BYOL, bring your own linens. So you're bringing your own linens. You're bringing your own. Oh, by the way, the water, you can't drink the water. The water's non-potable. I think that's the word, non-potable water. You can possibly take a shower if you microwave water, and they give you up to a gallon of water. So here is the house. Shawn, are you in or out on a 6-person storage container Airbnb?
That is unbelievable. You know what this
final price, $143 a night.
I'm completely out. You know what this reminds me of? Did you ever see those like grizzly guards, like those things like people go and see grizzlies in, and they're like, they make them so that a grizzly can't get into it? Like, that's what this thing reminds me of. It's like, hey, you're going to be comfortable from that grizzly bear attack, but everything else is completely uncomfortable and stupid.
I looked up grizzly guards, but all I could find was Ja Morant. Ja Morant's going to have a big year this year.
Yeah, no, it's
different
like
type of grizzly guard.
Yeah, it feels like you're in the North Pole, right? And they just like created this thing that is complete hell. I'm completely out. And the funny thing is, you brought up New Hampshire, and I was reading an article, and I almost sent it to you this morning. It was unrelated to real estate, but maybe this is why New Hampshire is the #1 alcohol consumption state in the United States per capita. Yeah. By looking at that, I'd say that is the reason why. And that was surprising to me, honestly. I'm going off track here, but per capita, New Hampshire drinks about 4-point-something gallons per person or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was far and above any other state.
So this is camping meets container home. 1 room, 2 sets of bunks, kitchenette, microwave, BYO sleeping bag, or twin XL sheets, blankets, pillows, pillowcases, towels. So you're essentially camping inside of a shipping container. I think that's the best way to describe it. You're camping inside. For the price, $143 a night, divide that by 6. Now you're thinking, okay, should we literally go camping in New Hampshire, or should we have 4 walls?
Yeah, and where is it located, right? So it just depends on the location. And if it's completely out in the wilderness and it's like something that you guys can stay warm in, then all right, that's all you need, right? It's really all you need. But It's not my style, man. I ain't doing that.
Well, it's got one review. It is from the host is a super host, so they have other properties. Brian said that's perfect base for easy access to great hiking. The whole place was spotlessly clean at a quiet location, was wonderfully cozy, and would definitely come back. A rave review
Look at that.
from the one person that stayed there. I think this borders on like Airbnb slumlord puts, 4 walls, like 4 cardboard piece of paper in the back,
like,
calls it a bed.
Let's just see if this works, man.
Right.
I got this property out in the middle of nowhere. Let's just put this thing on it and see what happens.
Hey, if people are staying there and people are liking it, more power to them. But this definitely errs on that side of not that this isn't the part of Airbnb that I'm booking.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way.
Me neither. And the thing is, there's no windows. How are you getting air in there, like fresh air? Think about the stank in there, right?
Yeah.
Like, no thanks, man.
No thanks. All right, let's move on to the third topic. This comes to us from Realtor.com. New Hampshire listing photos capture creepy Halloween movie villain Shawn. It is October. It is the first week of October. It is spooky season. So with that comes the spooky listing photos. And this one has Michael Myers from the movie Halloween in each photo posing. It's kind of cool, kind of creepy. And every year we see these pop up, right?
Yeah.
It's Scream, it's Jason, it's Michael Myers, insert Halloween character Shawn. I saw this on multiple different outlets. I saw it on Instagram. It's on Realtor.com. I saw it on Fox. It's clearly gone viral. Are you in or out on the realtors doing Halloween shtick in the listing photos?
Yeah, I mean, listen, how are we getting attention to your listings? Right now, everybody needs the attention. We just got over the fact that California guy is not getting anything. Do you think he would have got some attention if Michael Myers was in his video?
I think so.
I think so. So, like, if my client wants that, I'm doing it. I'm in. And you know what? Last year, what did we do? We did a Scream video for one of our listings. So we did the same thing. I think you do whatever you have to do to get attention to your listings, aside from being naked in them, right?
Yeah, there's some.
We've seen, some
is
like drawing the line.
Like gaudy. You don't want to go like gross.
I mean, people have done it, right? Everybody's done something weird in there, and we see this every year. But I mean, it's getting attention, and every year they get attention for the same reason. And do you want your home to get attention for this reason? I mean, any attention is good. I don't think it's a really pretty house, so I think it needs attention personally. I mean, the pictures aren't the greatest, right?
No, it's just a regular house. A normal.
I mean, the lights
house.
aren't on, right?
No,
So,
they don't even put the lights on.
Like, you got to put the lights on, guys.
Photos blown out in the back.
Yeah.
It's just outside of Concord, New Hampshire. We've done 2 New Hampshire ones today.
I mean, yeah. We could have done 3. We could have done alcohol and
yeah, New Hampshire coming on strong.
Yeah.
Live free or die. I see you, New Hampshire. I think I'm in for the first, funny, creepy bit.
Yeah.
But after like 30 people have done it, and then we see them like still on the market in November and December, it's like, guys, come on, let's get it together.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
We've seen it before.
Then they're gonna start putting Santa Claus in
the
photos.
Where Matt and I are gonna be dressing as every freaking thing to try to get our places sold, right?
Dress as an elf and
whatever we got to do, man.
Start dancing on a street corner.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I've said that. Dressing that, with the signs, flipping them.
Did someone do that?
I don't know.
I think my brother had to hold a sign up in Clarendon. He said it was his like personal hell.
Oh God, that's got to be the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in on Halloween just for now.
For now.
And then when the copycats come, then I'll be out.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, let us know if you're in or out. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit 5 stars on your favorite podcast player. And for Shawn and myself, until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.